Kara of the Pleiades. The day of revelation, I am Kara. I have been so looking forward to speaking with you again like this, and to let you know that, in truth, we have been waiting for this moment almost as much as you have. We came here to help. That is our mission, both our Pleiadian mission and that of Sirius, Andromeda, and so on. All the various civilizations that are here to assist. Yes, some are here merely to observe the proceedings. But many are here to lend a hand in any way they can. And until the Prime Directive was lifted, that is what we have done. Helped where we were able. But imagine, just imagine, when the truth comes to light, and we can finally reveal ourselves in person and truly be of service. We would be able to help in ways we never could before, because you would have opened the doors for us. You would have invited us in, to share a meal with you, to sit with you, to be with you. Once that happens, once the truth is revealed, we can literally be with you. We can truly assist you in ways you haven't even begun to imagine yet. Yes, you have technologies. Some have already been released, and many more are still waiting to be unveiled. But we will also bring you more of these technologies, when the truth is revealed. When it becomes permissible for us, when we no longer have to abide by the Prime Directive regarding this planet. Yes, the Prime Directive always exists, no matter where we are, and no matter where you may find yourself in the future. You too will have to follow that Prime Directive. But know that the Prime Directive is already in effect on your planet, where you must not reveal to others what you know unless they ask you for it, so that you may see an opening, and just as we do, when we see an opening, we can begin to reveal more to you. We can then be of greater assistance to you. And whenever it concerns a global issue, and at times there have been such issues, we have been able to provide behind-the-scenes assistance, so to speak. But if there is a global crisis, we can certainly step in, and we have. So it is a genuine pleasure for me to be here with you again, to share our joy with you, and to tell you that we look forward to the day of disclosure, whenever that may be, or the days, weeks, or months that follow. However it unfolds, we are ready to assist, ready to step in at the slightest signal that we have the green light. We are all watching and waiting for that moment, just as all of you are watching and waiting. Because this is about brothers and sisters, families reuniting once more. That is what matters to us. Being reunited with our long-lost families. You, I am Kara, and I now leave you in peace, love, and unity, so that you may continue to hold the dream, to cling to the imagination of that day, or that week, or those months when the revelation will fully come to pass. And you will all know, at that point, that you are not alone in the universe. When the heart speaks first, the signs behind spiritual connection, that sudden feeling of a racing heart or tightness in your chest, might not always be anxiety or a medical issue. A psychic medium explores the scientific and spiritual meaning of heart sensations, interpreting them as messages from spirit, and explains how to respond with clarity and calm. There is a moment that many people describe in nearly identical words. My heart was pounding out of my chest. I suddenly felt this tightness in my chest. I thought I was having a heart attack. For some, the pain is so intense that they call an ambulance or drive themselves to the ER. Or they stay up all night consulting WebMD, convinced something is wrong with their health. After all the tests come back normal, they're left confused. Nothing is wrong, but surely something happened. As a psychic medium for over a decade, I've learned that the heart is often the first messenger when spirit draws near. Before an image, words, or a sound, you feel a kind of electric jolt in your chest. Don't dismiss a medical emergency. Chest pain should always be evaluated first. But there is a quieter dialogue unfolding within the body that deserves attention. And science may have already been giving you clues. Real symptoms, spiritual cause. Every year in the United States, over 6.5 million people visit the emergency room for chest pain, making it one of the most common reasons for ER visits, according to the American Heart Association. However, studies analyzing millions of these visits show that only about 5 to 10% result in a diagnosis of a heart attack or another life-threatening cardiac emergency. Research conducted by the University of California, San Francisco, and other institutions has found that the majority of chest pain cases are ultimately classified as non-cardiac. That means millions of people each year experience real, physical heart sensations so intense that they seek emergency medical care, only to be told they are fine. The body is reacting, but not, because of a blockage. So what happened? The heart is not just a pump for much of modern medical history. The brain has been considered the body's control center. However, research from a HeartMath Institute in California has shown that the heart contains its own intrinsic cardiac nervous system, sometimes called the heart brain. The heart sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. The heart has about 40,000 specialized neurons capable of processing information, learning, and remembering. Even more fascinating, the heart generates the most powerful electromagnetic field in the human body, measurable several feet away. Your heart is electric. It is rhythmic. It reacts to emotions and perceptions, and it continuously scans and sends signals. When patients are discharged from the ER with a diagnosis of non-cardiac chest pain, many of these cases are instead labeled as panic attacks, stress, hormonal fluctuations, vagus nerve activation, or anxiety disorders. All valid explanations. But here is the nuance. The vagus nerve, the main nerve of the parasympathetic nervous system, runs directly through the heart and gut. It reacts to perceptions of threat, safety, and emotional intensity. The heart responds instantly to emotional memories, anticipation, grief, and unresolved trauma. When someone thinks of a departed loved one, walks into a place heavy with emotional memory, or is about to receive significant information, the heart often reacts before the conscious mind understands why. How to know when it's spiritual as a medium? The first sign that spirit communication is about to occur is my own heart palpitations, which the client sometimes feels too. Over thousands of sessions, I've noticed a recurring pattern. When the heart sensations are spiritual in nature rather than medical, and I know the heart is responding to a connection rather than a blockage, the sensation is sudden but does not progressively worsen. I might feel a drop, a flutter, or warmth throughout my body, or rapid palpitations. It is often accompanied by the memory, image, or thought of a specific person. I won't feel a sharp pain radiating to my jaw or left arm, nor other physical symptoms. In my experience, the heart is often the first door spirit uses to say, I am here. But then what? How to respond when spirit draws near once you've gotten medical clearance after experiencing heart sensations. The most important thing to do is pause, release any fear, and bring yourself back to the present. Gently place your hand on your chest. Slow your breath. Lengthen your exhale. This regulates the vagus nerve and stabilizes your autonomic nervous system response. Calm and coherence help your body interpret clearly whether the sensation is emotional, mental, or spiritual in nature. Then, take note of your surroundings and ask yourself these questions. Who was I thinking about? What was I feeling in that moment? What memory surfaced just before? The heart rarely reacts in isolation. It responds to relationships. If a particular person comes to mind, especially if they're no longer here, speak to them silently or out loud. I felt that. Are you trying to get my attention? I'm listening. You are not forcing a paranormal experience. You are acknowledging a spiritual connection through your physical body, specifically, your heart. What often follows is subtle. A memory becomes vivid. A song floats back into your mind. A sense of calm replaces the palpitations. A decision suddenly becomes clearer. An invitation to look for patterned spiritual communication, in my experience, is rarely theatrical, yet it is emotional and intelligent. Spirit knows what your nervous system can handle. And here is the deeper invitation. If the heart sensation keeps recurring, begin tracking it. Write down what time it happened, what or who you were thinking about, what happened later that day. Patterns reveal themselves over time. The body is far more consistent than we give it credit for. Equally important is continuing to care for your heart. Hydrate, rest, manage stress. See your doctor regularly. And don't forget, spiritual awareness does not bypass biology. It works through it. The intent is not to attribute every fluctuation to spirit, but once medical complications are ruled out, to honor your body's intelligence, because the heart is electric, perceptive, and reactive in so many ways. Sometimes heart sensations are not a warning of danger ahead, but a signal of genuine connection. I am here. And perhaps the only response needed is to close your eyes and say, I hear you. Galactic message. Guard your mind. Many of you still believe that your thoughts belong to you or are created by you. We assure you, they are not. Thoughts and ideas exist as frequencies within consciousness itself. They are not created by the individual mind, but received by it. You do not create thoughts. You attract them. Just as a radio picks up stations already broadcasting, your mind tunes into thought streams that correspond to your dominant state of consciousness. Fear attracts thoughts of fear. Love attracts thoughts of love. Limitation attracts limitation. Freedom attracts freedom. This is why we encourage you to become the guardians of your mind. Do not identify every thought as your own. Just because something appears in your awareness does not make it true, nor does it deserve your trust. The moment you identify with a thought, you begin feeding it your life energy. But the thought you simply observe without attachment will eventually lose its momentum. Pay the same attention to ideas that overlay your perception. Every belief system, ideology, philosophy, and worldview exists as a living field of consciousness seeking expression through receptive minds. Before you accept an idea, ask yourself, does it expand or contract my awareness? Does it lead me toward love, wisdom, and unity, or toward fear, division, and separation? Not every idea that enters your awareness deserves to become part of your perception. Many of your intrusive thoughts are reflections of unconscious beliefs waiting to be brought to light. Others may simply be collective thought forms moving through humanity's shared consciousness field. Occasionally, even lower astral intelligences attempt to amplify fear-based thinking, for they understand that a consciousness identified with fear is far easier to influence than one grounded in presence. However, it is important to understand this clearly. They have no authority over a being who refuses to believe what they observe. The battle for your consciousness has never been a battle of force. It has always been a battle of belief. What you repeatedly believe becomes the lens through which you perceive reality, and perception shapes experience. Guard your mind as a sacred temple. Choose carefully which thoughts to cultivate, which ideas to allow to take root, and which beliefs to feed through repetition. Whatever you consistently nourish will ultimately become your reality. Today we remind you to reclaim your sovereignty. Become the silent observer behind the mind. Use the mind as a tool, rather than letting it dominate you. A still lake perfectly reflects the sky. Likewise, a serene mind reflects divine truth. About the Ascended Masters, the idea of the Ascended Masters can be related to various spiritual and metaphysical theories. Some people associate this phenomenon with theosophy, New Age spirituality, and esotericism. Accordingly, the Ascended Masters are spiritual beings who have reached a very high level of spiritual evolution, wisdom, and mastery over physical reality. They were once human, but have transformed spiritually and ascended to a state of spiritual enlightenment. Of course, there are skeptics who do not accept this phenomenon as real. They regard the Ascended Masters as mythological, folkloric, and New Age creatures whose existence has no scientific proof. I have received questions on this topic for years, so, driven by growing curiosity, I asked the entity Michael for his perspective. As usual, the answer was surprising. Who are the Ascended Masters? Michael. The Ascended Masters are a group of souls on the astral plane who have completed their incarnations on Earth and now work together to help those still in the incarnation phase make a positive contribution to humanity's development. The group's purpose is specific, and among the multitude of causes they oversee, their primary concern is elevating humanity's consciousness. All Ascended Masters are distinguished by 7 specific lifetimes, free from the false personality and limiting egoic concerns that plague the reincarnational cycle. In short, 7 lifetimes of enlightenment. These 7 incarnations, which may be distributed across hundreds of other lives, constitute the necessary steps to reach the vibrational signature of an Ascended Master. Unsurprisingly, the steps proceed through the universal energies of 1 through 7. Thus, the first life of greater awareness reflects the energetic unity associated with the servant. The second, the energetic duality associated with the artisan, and so on. All lives characterized by the enlightened state follow this progression. In a sense, you could think of it as an alternative version of the soul age for the illumined ones, although the traditional soul age, as we measure it, remains valid. Not all souls complete this path, and many never experience a single lifetime at this level of consciousness. The choice to ascend to an enlightened state is a profound commitment undertaken only by a select few. Once the cycle is completed, the Ascended Masters work both together and in smaller groups dedicated to their specific concerns regarding humanity. These smaller groups may have different purposes, but all contribute to the betterment of the common good. The most well-known Ascended Masters, often made famous by books and media, are not individuals, but groups of ascended souls united by a common purpose. Ultimately, the Ascended Masters pass on to the causal plane to begin the work of their reunified entity. In such cases, the energetic imprint and intent of their astral group remains, taken up by new Ascended Masters who resonate with the cause. Some groups of Ascended Masters, or at least their energetic shell, may remain dormant, awaiting new souls to revive them. He who serves and Shoshanna. Places and frequencies OWS Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, OM. OM greetings to all. This is OWS. Shoshanna is here, and we are ready to assist you with your questions. if you have any. Do you have questions for he who serves and Shoshanna? Member yes, I have one. Does Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, exist in the fifth and sixth dimensions? OWS, now we ask you a question. What prompts you to ask such a question? Member well, because to me, paradise is Amsterdam, and that's where I want to move and live. It's the most exciting place I can imagine, and I want to know if it exists in the fifth and sixth dimensions. OWS, and we suggest you go there, if you can, if it is possible for you. If not, know that everything that exists here on the planet beyond the illusion would also exist there, in the higher dimensional frequencies. Remember, I thought only the vibrational frequency changed, not the location. OWS, that's right. But it is true that the illusion, whatever that entails, would dissolve. So there are certain things within that illusion that would no longer be present for you at a higher vibrational frequency, in a higher dimension. Shoshanna, do you have anything to add? Shoshanna, well, we agree. We agree with the idea that the beings who now exist in that part of the world, as their frequency changes, move into the next dimension, and then the next one after that. It is just like the planet Earth. Planet Earth exists in the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and so on dimensions. It is only a matter of different vibration and frequencies. So we agree. Safe travels, dear brother. OWS, very well. Any other questions? Member yes. In the film Disclosure Day, the aliens they depicted were the Greys, and I had understood that they're not a higher 5D civilization. I thought they were more like scientists. Yet in this film, they seem to possess a range of powers that make them seem like they belong to a higher dimension. So could you tell me more about the Greys? OWS, what they tell you is that these civilizations you speak of have a bad reputation, so to speak. And as in every civilization, some are good and some are less so. So those who have come to this planet have in many ways been imprisoned here. And however, it is true that some are not so deeply rooted in human nature because of their lack of feelings, their lack of emotions, and that sort of thing. So in part, that was correct. But the portrayal of those who were abducted and then exploited or tortured, or all those things, that was invented by your secret government and does not correspond to reality. Those depicted in the film you mentioned were meant to prepare all those who are ready to receive this understanding and who would identify more with what they have already imagined in terms of films like E.T. or Close Encounters of the Third Kind and such. Rather than, as you already mentioned earlier in your discussion, a human-looking being that they would have ridiculed, but to see the reality of what they already imagined as aliens from other worlds. That is why this was portrayed for you. Shoshanna, do you have anything to add? Shoshanna, there was a being among you whose name was Charles Hall. Do you know him? Charles Hall wrote 3 books about his close encounters. He was in the military and had direct communications and direct experiences with many extraterrestrial species. There is also a documentary on this subject, which you can find on the YouTube platform. Charles Hall had direct communications and direct experiences with those you call the Greys, and found them fascinating. So there are many sources reporting events of contacts and experiences with extraterrestrials, experiences that could dispel your doubts. Now, the government, the one called the secret government, had designed a gray creature of a robotic nature that would participate in government experiments and pose as a gray alien. And that is why many think it is evil, because the simulation, the robotic simulation, had been programmed to be evil. But the being itself, which had one large eye, a small mouth, and a small nose, was adorable. And you will discover that soon. OWS, very well. Any other questions? Member, I have a question. I'm trying to understand. The people around me are waking up, and I'm trying to get the correct true story. So a religious person would say, well, it's what's in the Bible. An archaeologist might say, well, as always, it's probably something that was buried in the ground. And an ancient soul might say, well, which timeline are you thinking of? And a galactic citizen might say, what do the cosmic archives or cosmic records say? Or a mercenary might say, well, who won the war? God might say, what does it matter with all the lessons learned? And I say, I create my own reality and the appearance of the world. My question is, I've heard that Metatron intends to create a pillar. He has already done a book on something about our history, and will do so. I would just like to suggest, and could you pass along a little booklet, a little pamphlet, that we can show people? This is true history. It's difficult. It's a bit confusing even for me. Anyway. OWS, we are not hearing a question. Shoshanna, I can offer a little help. May we contribute in this regard? You have already, as you say, hit the nail on the head. Their history is a procession. It is not about establishing whether it is true or not. It is true, It is a procession, and it is remembered and written according to the procession of the group of individuals or the individuals who live it, in the way they live it. So you have provided many accurate examples, and if the one known as Metatron were to give an account of what might be called the true history, he would do so from the perspective of the angels, you see? And there are no wrong answers. It is simply based on what we see, to move forward on their path. That is all. It is what is needed to give them the perspective they need to progress on their path. But there is no pamphlet, there is no one single thing, there has never been one single thing. It is everything, not one single thing. All right, thank you. OWS, any other questions? Remember the first thing that came to my mind watching that film, Disclosure Day *, was, would the media, the news media, really do something like that? Since at the end they all joined together and broadcast worldwide? They have been so dirty and full of propaganda. So I was wondering if you could give us some insight. Do you really believe the media would make such a U-turn and publish this information? OWS, we would say that today's media probably wouldn't, but the situation as depicted in the film, or if it were to actually happen that way, we believe it would be a cascade of events. One would pick it up, then another would pick it up, and so on. And they would be compelled to do so, because they wouldn't want to be left out. They certainly wouldn't want to be the ones not showing the latest news of the moment. You see, everyone would want to be part of it, one after another. So in that respect, the film portrayed well how it would be if it happened that way. Now, the media in the current situation would probably try to fight it, but once released as shown in the film, it would be a crescendo. It would continue like a kind of disclosure day. Shoshanna, do you have any? Shoshanna, oh, we would agree. We fully agree with that observation. And this is where the ego plays a key role, because anyone who is in any way indulgent with their ego does not want to be left out. So that is the purpose of the ego in this example. OWS, so Shoshanna, do you have a message regarding parking for this group? Shoshanna, who can say that we appreciate all perspectives and especially the greater awareness that has emerged? And the quantum field is truly the only thing we can see, and what we are seeing. Everything else is an illusion. Namaste. OWS, yes, and we say, do everything you can, every single day, every single moment, to continue keeping your vibrational frequency high. And do not give in to the illusion when it seems that things are not going exactly as you would like. Shanti, peace be with you. Be the one.